friend. You're listening to The Sustainable Bodyworker, the podcast for massage therapists who want to grow thriving, purpose-led businesses without the burnout. Here we talk about nervous system aligned business strategy, pricing that makes sense, client work that doesn't deplete you, and how to build a career that actually supports your life. I'm your host, Gretchen Pop, massage therapist, mentor, educator, and recovering overachiever. Let's get into it. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of The Sustainable Bodyworker. Today, I have on Michelle Ratz McGuire, who is an incredible inspiration to everyone who is wanting to bust out of limiting beliefs, imposter syndrome, and all of that stuff that we talk about so much here on this podcast. Michelle has been in my sphere for a while now, and we have worked together. And she is just an incredible inspiration. She has an online course for massage therapists, teaching them how to step into the most confident, capable version of themselves. The course is called Why Not Me? We talk about this course and her experience moving into an educator role, stepping into a very specialized form of body work, and working through those limiting beliefs, imposter syndrome, all that good stuff through her experience, and now getting to step into a place where she can help other body workers do the same. This conversation was so much fun, and I have been looking forward to having her on the pod for a bit now. We've been talking about it for a while as I've been connecting her with resources to develop her course. She and I are both hypnotherapists, so we love speaking this language of how to really work with the subconscious limitations and bust through them. I think you're going to love this conversation as much as I did. So without further ado, enjoy the episode with Michelle. Alrighty. Welcome, everyone. I'm so excited to be welcoming our guest today. Michelle Ratz McGuire is here with us to talk about so many things mindset related. I'm very excited to have this conversation. Michelle, we've been talking about this in the background for a while, and so excited to finally have you here. Firstly, I would love for you to take a little bit of time to introduce yourself, share a little bit about your background, and, particularly what drew you into massage therapy and then eventually into your teaching role and the hypnotherapy that you offer and all that good stuff.
Sure. So my name is Michelle. I am a registered massage therapist from Ontario, Canada, Waterloo, if you want to be specific. I'd say about an hour and a half-ish outside of Toronto, which is what most people know when they think of Ontario, Canada. I used to be a social worker. I have a degree in social development studies, and I worked in group homes with youth and burnt out pretty quickly. I think I did that for about 5 years. I had a grandiose plan to become get my master's degree in social work and become like a counselor, therapist type person. But as I worked with the youth, it wasn't the work. It was a lot of the admin and a lot of the politics that are in social work that really had me burnt out and looking for something different. So I pivoted. I looked at a couple of different careers, but my mom actually suggested massage therapy. And I was like, okay, that seems interesting. At that point I had a massage therapist, and I liked her a lot. So I had a conversation with her. I looked at the local schools in Ontario specifically. School is a 2,200 hour process. So it's about 2 years of education. And so the school that I ended up choosing had an introduction to anatomy and an introduction to massage therapy. It was kind of like learning how to do some of the basic like effleurage, pétrissage stuff. So I took both of those before I committed because I wanted to make sure that I would enjoy that stuff. And then I did, and it was probably one of the best decisions I ever made. And then I worked as a massage therapist I've been a massage therapist for 15 years. And in 2022, I signed up for a business coaching package. And part of that package included hypnotherapy training. So I thought, it came as part of my package. I really didn't know much about hypnosis and hypnotherapy, but I thought, well, I'll give it a try. It came with the kid, I've already paid for it, kind of thing. Um, and and I realized when I like what a powerful tool it is, not just for me, like that's who I started with, but then I thought I have to start offering this to others. So that kind of expanded my service menu there. And then teaching has just kind of felt like the next natural step. I've had so many different mentors around me, and I wanted to be the person that I wish that I had when I started out. So that's a little bit about me.
That's amazing. I agree. I think a lot of people who I've spoken with a lot of people that have gone into teaching roles from the massage therapy field. And I feel like that's a really common thing that we have this kind of root of either being inspired by someone who really, really impacted us and kind of wanting to spread that impact in our own way, or to step into a role that we wanted when we were learning and when we were starting
Mhm.
out. And there's such a common thread there. I think that that blends really beautifully with hypnotherapy because so much of stepping into any new role is believing that you can, right?
Mhm.
And this is such a big piece of what you have gone through as a journey becoming an educator and stepping into that role and how you help other practitioners in that process. So tell me a little bit more about your course called Why Not Me
Mhm.
and what does it mean to you personally?
So, why not me is kind of my aha moment. I would say, again, around 2022, when I was starting um, to question my business burnout, all that kind of stuff. I I was watching some scrolling through Instagram, and I saw there's a massage therapist from Toronto. Shout out to Nikki, who was kind of like somebody I'd seen in the periphery. She was in a lot of the Canadian massage therapist groups. And she is someone who works part time. It makes $100,000 plus a year now and travels for a ton of that time. And I was like, man, I wish that I could do that. And then I kind of stopped and I was like, well, why couldn't I do that? um, and so the like, why not me just became kind of like a question that I asked myself anytime I came up to something where, like, oh, well, I can't do that. Well, why can't I? What's stopping me from doing that? And it really just changed my life. And so when I started developing a course, I thought that resonated so much with me, and I hope that it can maybe start to resonate with other people as well. So I just named it after my aha moment.
I love that so much. And we'll definitely go more in depth in that aha moment for you.
Mhm.
For those who are listening, would you mind giving kind of a synopsis or an overview as to what the Why Not Me, or like the outcome of what the Why Not Me course offers for massage therapists?
Sure. So it it offers. I start with mindset because you can't make change if you're living in old mindset. So we talk a lot about what it is. I give you kind of a brief overview of that. I give you a brief overview of the conscious and unconscious mind, limiting beliefs, and that kind of thing. And then we talk a lot about rewiring that. And so the way that I know best to rewire those limiting beliefs are through hypnosis. And you're a hypnotherapist. It's not like clucking like a chicken and acting like an idiot on stage. It's more about internal visualization, talking to the unconscious mind and telling it, it's safe, that these dreams can become a reality, and just changing the core beliefs. So that's the core of the program. But we also get into things like marketing. Even if you're an introvert like myself, I do not like talking to people, but here I am. So there are ways to do that. There are ways to set up your business, like just with budgeting and that kind of stuff, just setting it up so that you can take time off if you get sick, that you build in vacation, and that you build in like just time to combat that burnout that can happen, and that you can just live the life that you want. We talk a lot about how there's kind of a preconceived notion about what massage is and isn't, and how a massage practice looks. And I'm really big, like my massage practice is completely clothes on a mat on the floor. And that's not what a lot of people think about when they see massage therapy. And I mean, that's not for everybody, but like that's breaking out of that box. So part of the course is breaking out of the box of what we think massage is and could be, and allowing yourself to dream and grow and build a practice that works the best for your life.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, you hit on so many important pieces. And I think all of them, whether it's what massage looks like or what limiting beliefs you have or what you want to step into or what you might like, how marketing might look like for your business, it all comes down to a personal connection to our values. You know that this is my shtick, and it all comes down to our values. And I think one of the things that I personally love so much about hypnosis is that it does allow you to do a deep dive into your own personal value system. You literally will not be shown anything that's in conflict with your values unless your subconscious mind is trying to show you, hey, this is what's not in alignment with you, and here's where you want to go. And I love that, there's so many different aspects of life in general, but for massage therapists, we work with so many limiting beliefs. We work with so many structures and confines, so to speak, in how we are supposed to practice or what massage is supposed to look like, or how we're you mentioned even I don't like talking to people, so marketing is hard for me because that's because we have that association of, well, marketing means that I have to do salesy stuff in this type of way.
Exactly.
But it actually gets really easy when you do it in an aligned kind of a way. And I've noticed your marketing, your social media is super on point, and it has been very, very precisely curated to the mission that you want to be sharing. And that's what happens when we connect to that on a profound, deep internal level. And that's what hypnosis allows us to do. And I'm curious for you, what were some of the limiting beliefs or doubts you had to face when stepping into this newest version of your business with teaching and creating your first course for other massage therapists?
Yeah, there were so many limiting beliefs. I think we talk once a week, and there's always something that's still coming up.
Yep.
It's the prevailing one, I think, is why would anybody listen to me? I thought a lot about how I've had a lot of mentors, whether they've been paid or unpaid, like people that I've met over the years. And I worried that I'm like, well, maybe I'm just copying from them or stealing their stuff. Like, this isn't all my own original ideas. And then again, lots of stuff to do, like limiting beliefs around techie things. Like, I'm not techie in the least. So like, well, how can I even do this? It's overwhelming. Why am I even trying this? Yeah, so that's a couple of the prevailing ones that come up, and they tend to keep coming up. But I deal with them a lot differently now than I did when they first started coming up.
I think the most illuminating thing as I've explored communicating with more and more people, and even just being an avid podcast listener myself. I actually hated podcasts for a really long time, believe it or not, but I've been listening to them so much lately, which is what inspired me to develop this podcast. And the more and more I listen, I find it really beautiful and validating and reassuring to witness how many people who are doing really cool things have these same limiting beliefs that keep coming up. And Michelle, I think you and I were even having this conversation earlier, that it's like, it's not something that ever really fully goes away. It's hardwired for a particular purpose. And it's just that our muscle gets a little bit stronger to recognize it and then to deal with it and to be able to do the risky thing anyway, or do the thing that matters so much to us anyway. And it's so profound to me how many people just experience that and get to share it. And I'm so grateful for you speaking up about what you are experiencing too, because it's going to be so validating for everyone else who is literally thinking, you know,
Mm-hmm.
why would anyone listen to what I have to say?
Yeah, yeah, totally.
Yeah. What was the biggest, to put it in this language, internal shift that you had to make in order to build that muscle for yourself?
um, I think it was a lot of self-talk. Um, a lot of my own personal hypnotherapy that I would like I think we talked yesterday how I I have stuff recorded on my phone and I just pop the earbuds in, that kind of thing. The biggest shift that I had to make was that I I know enough, I am enough, and I don't need another like course to tell me that I know enough. I have enough knowledge and skill to start teaching right here, right now, like and that I have to stop putting it off, kind of thing. So
Yeah, that's such
yeah.
a common thing too. We have to add more and more skills to our briefcase, so to
Mm-hmm.
speak, to feel
Mm-hmm.
good enough. And there's this concept, of course, it's slipping my mind what it's actually called, but it's kind of like this bar that gets set by our nervous system of like what is normal for us. So we
Mm-hmm.
might go from, just to put it at a really basic example, we might go from living in a one bedroom apartment and aspire to be living in a like really nice Victorian house. And we work really hard to getting to that place and then eventually get to live in the Victorian house and we have the dream is fulfilled and all of that, but then soon that resets to our level of normal and it gets really we start to then kind of think about what the next level is and we start to aspire for that because we're just wired that way. We want to seek more and more and more and higher and higher. And that makes it really challenging, I think, to realize that wherever you are at, there is someone, you might be in the Victorian house and think that, you know, well, you would love the mansion in LA, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so wherever you are at, there's someone in that one bedroom apartment that needs to have the stepping stones to the Victorian house because that's what they're seeking. And so hopefully that metaphor conveys particularly in that way because we get to this place of like where are people going to be listening to me like I don't have anything to offer. I need to take more and more. But just like I think you may have experienced this by what you shared with me, one more course or one more coach or one more skill set, you eventually get to a place where you're like, oh, I'm literally paying thousands of dollars to hear the exact same thing shared by a different person.
Yep. Yep.
So, at what point did you realize that what you had worked through in your own experience, whether it was your imposter syndrome or your limiting belief, at what point did you realize that that was exactly what you could help other body workers with?
Um, so I had a voice in my head for a couple of years saying you should be teaching something, but I didn't know what that something was. Like I think when we first started working together, I was planning on creating a course for the public, like on like nervous system regulation or something like that. Um, and then somebody, I can't even remember who it was, so I can't even give them credit, but they said to me, you've completely reinvented your practice and it's really working and you could help other massage therapists do the same. And that was kind of my light bulb moment. And I realized, like, again, with all the money that I'd spent and the mistakes that I'd made, the late night imposter syndrome spirals that I've been going through, they were my training. And so they gave me the experience that I need to guide other massage therapists through the same struggles. And basically, I'd kind of already done, like we talked about, the messy trial run. I've done the trial and error. I've worked with a bunch of different people. And now I hopefully can help other people, other massage therapists skip kind of the dips that I had to go through and just kind of keep that upward climb. So,
Yeah. Or at least, I love this metaphor that I thought of a couple of years back. If you're going to experience the dip, because I think that no matter what kind of support we get from other people, we all have our own version of dipping because it's
mm-hmm.
required, it's
Mm-hmm.
necessary in order, just like you said, that is the learning process. But instead of dipping and getting stuck there, like a lot of us often do, we can then use it as a trampoline. We might go down, but we can use that dip as the way to
Mm-hmm.
bump ourselves up. And there's a lot of fear involved with getting into that dip, right?
Mhm.
I was just listening to another podcast earlier that someone was explaining that when they experience a moment of expansion in their own lives, they also, it oftentimes comes with a moment of contraction. Because when you're, expanding into a next greater version of yourself or doing something that you've never done before, the gremlins start speaking up, but
Yep.
also the we start to see more and more opportunities like, oh, okay, you want to stay at this next level, you want to keep on doing this, there's all of these opportunities that we kind of need to clear all of this pathway in order to stay on this trajectory, and that involves a lot of fear.
Mhm.
And I'm curious if you have experienced the ability, or if you have a tool for being able to tell the difference between fear that means this isn't right for me versus fear that means that this is exactly what I'm meant to grow through. This is exactly the path that I'm meant to mow, so to speak.
Mhm. Yeah, so it took me a little while to get to that point. I would just, that's why I spent so much money on different business coaches and that kind of thing, because a lot of, like there's a lot of fear that I'm not enough, that I'm not able to do things. So um, I've learned, I've learned to trust my intuition, but there's a certain feeling that goes beyond that fear in that I feel kind of in my chest. And that's what I've learned means this isn't right for me. So it's a somatic thing for me. I can feel it in my body, but that took a long time for me to kind of understand what that was. So what I've noticed is when it's something that I'm like fear, something that I'm meant to grow through, I find that I can't stop thinking about it. And I'll start weighing pros and cons and just start looking at how can I do whatever the thing is that I need to do. And I have undiagnosed ADD, I think. So I am very much in that shiny object syndrome phase in a lot of my life. So I've started to try to sit on it for a few weeks and journal with it and ruminate on it and just, it's usually, if I do that, it gives me enough time to kind of process it and um, and go through and know and whether this is something that I need to do to push through and grow, or whether this is something that, yeah, it's probably not for me.
That's interesting that you have that somatic experience, because I think we, I will speak for myself, but I know that there's plenty of people that will resonate with this as well. There's such a tendency to overthink,
Yeah.
and the rumination and overanalyzation of everything can sometimes even make, I mean, we go into that analysis paralysis mode.
Mhm.
And I think that bringing it back to the body and being able to ask the body, or even just feel like, where is this landing in my body, that really, it allows you to slow down and tap into
Mhm.
a more regulated state, which is where you're going to be much better at making decisions from in the first place. But
Yeah.
also give yourself the opportunity to really feel it out. I mean, when people say, I got to feel this out, cool, do that. You're literally feeling it out.
Mhm.
So I'm curious, do you actually have, you mentioned you feel it in your body. Do you have any type of felt sensation when you know it's right for you? Because you mentioned that it's, if you feel it in your body, you'll feel a somatic experience when it's not right for you. But is there any kind of different sensation that's somatic beyond the thinking about it and making pros and cons and going on and on in your thought process about it when it is the right choice for you?
Yeah, I recognize it as excitement, but it's like a
Mm.
buzz. It's in my brain. Like I can't the thinking, that's like the cognitive part, but like it's literally like a whole body excitement, like an energy. I don't know how else to explain it, but it's very, in my body, it's a very specific feeling that, like, so the fear feeling that does come, and then if it's followed by that like the chest feeling, but then if it's followed by that kind of buzzing excitement, it's usually a sign to me that I need to look further into it. I need to think more about it. I need to journal on it and let it settle in and see what is the universe, or what is like my subconscious, or whatever it is telling me that I need to do to work through to reach the next level.
I love that. And I wonder too if even just the act of processing is part of what you need to be experiencing, not
Mhm.
necessarily the decision itself or moving forward with a thing, but the act of being kind of forced to journal and do
Yeah.
pros and cons lists and really analyze if it's a right decision for you could just be part of the growth process as well. Who
Yeah.
knows?
Yeah.
If you were to be sitting down with like a group of average massage practitioners, I'm curious what you might offer to be a small, doable step that they could take today if they're really thinking of dreaming of creating something bigger, but they're feeling paralyzed by imposter syndrome.
Yeah, the first thing I would say is take a deep breath and just in and out. And then ask yourself why you can't do the thing. And really think about it. Don't just it's not like a 5 minute process. I mean, it can start out that way, but think about it over a couple of days. Like I do, like journaling it, taking your time. And then the biggest question you can ask yourself once you've kind of thought about it is what happens if you don't do the thing? Like, what does your life look like if you don't do whatever it is? And then what could your life look like if you do? But that's where you think positive things only. You don't think the what if negative, you think the what if positive. Because you've already kind of thought the negative if you don't if you don't do it, that's you just kind of stay the same, right? Whereas yeah, so if you think about the good things, the positive things, that's going to hardwire whatever change it is you want to make into your brain as something that could be very positive in your life instead of something that's negative.
Yeah, it gives so much momentum to and connection to the bigger picture. I like to encourage people to like think beyond like what so someone might say like okay, I'm stepping into this next phase of my business. Say someone's thinking about expanding their business and hiring another practitioner, for example. Oftentimes it's coming from a place of like, I'm so overbooked and I need to solve this problem and I need to have someone help me. And that's going to take time off. Like, it's going to allow me to take time off and maybe I can make more money. And those are like all kind of like immediate 3D types of things that we're thinking about. But if we can think beyond that and the impact and the greater good, because I mean, the money can be motivating, the time off could be motivating, but I don't quite think that that's motivating enough when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to the reality of hiring another person and
Mm-hmm.
bringing more energy into your space and more responsibility. So,
Mm-hmm.
what perhaps could be the step beyond that? Well, we could be impacting more and more clients because we have twice the amount of hands now, or
Mm-hmm.
ultimately multiple more hands because of the team that
Mm-hmm.
I could grow. And the mission that I have could be spread beyond me. And it could allow me to take off more time to be able to spend time with my kid. And that will impact my kid in X, Y, and Z ways. And so when we can think about that beyond, I personally get super duper excited and I'm like, oh yeah, bring it on. Like I can face the challenge of accidentally hiring a fakey therapist and like having to deal with the consequences of someone being flaky and learning how to be a better leader and all of that
Mm-hmm.
because there's a bigger picture around that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious, do you go into that for yourself as well, getting like really, really big?
Yeah, but I have so you've taught me this has been very helpful to make kind of two lists when I'm thinking that because I do want to have that big, like thinking big and going bigger picture. But sometimes I get really caught up in then what are all the 15 million steps that I have to take to get to the bigger picture. So I find I've just like starting to write down, okay, like here's where I want to go. I want to teach a class in Hawaii, that's something, or an exotic location. That's kind of like where I'm at, right? But I can't start thinking about now because I'm at the beginning stages of my teaching career. So writing that in my future to-do list is something that I found to be really helpful to kind of break it down and be like, okay, like here's the really big thing, the really big dream that I want to do, but here's where I'm at now. And so here's, a few little things that I need to do to grow with first before we can start thinking bigger picture, like biggest picture.
Yeah, that makes me think of a talk that I heard Mel Robbins do years and years ago, how there's two different types of people who think differently. So some people are able to see the step, like the big goal in the way future, and from the vantage point we have now, be able to see the step by step to get there. And then there's people who really their brains work best just looking at the first step in the right direction and not necessarily focusing on that end goal because they get overwhelmed by the step by step
Mm-hmm.
by step.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that, you know, I love putting the big ideas on the board and being like, yes, and now focus on the task at hand. But you bring up a really important point that sometimes people might have this receiving of like this big vision and then being like, okay, well, in order to do that, I need to right now be doing X, Y, and Z, and it derails you from the task at hand. So I love that you offered that toolbox of kind of keeping that separate and really allowing you to be as effective as possible with that process. I love that. Hey friend, real quick, I'm interrupting this episode to share something that's made a huge difference in my health and my ability to actually rest, which is kind of the foundation for everything we talk about here. Now, you've heard my story, and you probably know that I used to be a chronic insomniac. Like, my eyes were super tired, brain totally wired, body aching all the time, just laying there for hours wide awake, even though I was completely exhausted. And even when I did fall asleep, I'd wake up with that classic cortisol spike at 3 a.m. and couldn't fall back to sleep again. I honestly just thought that was how my body worked. But everything changed when I started using Swanwick blue light blocking glasses. I was in a program that emphasized 3 pillars of health, and sleep was one of those non-negotiables. And once I understood what blue light was doing to my nervous system and circadian rhythm, it made so much sense. So here's the science real quick. Blue light, especially from screens and overhead lighting, suppresses melatonin production. And it doesn't take much. Even small amounts of exposure after sunset can delay the release of melatonin by hours, making it so much harder to fall asleep and stay asleep. But that's just the beginning. That same disruption also affects your cortisol rhythm, your ability to regulate inflammation, your blood sugar, your digestion, and even your tissue repair. Now, you're a body worker, so you know sleep is when the real healing happens for you and your clients. So now I wear my Swanwick glasses every night starting at around 5 p.m., especially if I'm leading a Zoom call or working late, and the difference is wild. I fall asleep within 30 minutes of starting to read in bed, I sleep so much deeper, and I wake up with a lot less pain. And most importantly, I feel like me again. And just to take it a step further, I even swapped my bathroom light bulbs to their amber-toned bulbs so that my evening routine doesn't confuse my body into thinking it's midday. This is one of the easiest, most effective upgrades I've made to my nervous system regulation and overall healing. It's super low effort, high reward. Honestly, it kind of feels like cheating. So if you're someone who struggles with winding down, or you find yourself wired at night even though you're bone tired, give these a try. There's a link in the show notes to grab your own pair. Okay, back to the episode. What has been the most rewarding part of turning your personal growth into a course that supports other people?
It's forced me to see how far I've come.
Yeah.
Because I live in my head every day and in my business every day. And I always think, well, everybody's here, but I have to recognize that no, this is not how everybody is. Like, how did I get here? Like, I didn't start this way too. I've learned a lot. So I think I get really excited. We talked a little bit about this earlier. Thinking about how I can have a part in elevating not only just the massage therapy profession, but I can touch people's lives and how then their influence can influence somebody else, and so on, like ripple effect. And, and like we had talked about that in terms of like, maybe it's going to affect my kid's life and that kind of thing. But I just think it's really cool how maybe someday somebody that I've impacted is then going to go on and impact somebody else. And I've been a part of that journey. And it's just really, that's the most rewarding part of this whole thing.
Yeah.
It's just, sharing and seeing how it can just get bigger than even I could even think of. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And the first step to that is day after day after day, showing up and doing the thing and stepping out of
Exactly.
your comfort zone. And like you even being here right now, having this conversation with me, this could have such an impact on people to, see some of themselves in your experience and be like, yeah, why not me? And
Mm-hmm.
that could be the ripple effect. And it really is amazing how profound that absolutely can be. So, and I'm sure, you've been on other podcast
Mhm.
episodes before, but I'm sure every time, because I know me as well, like anytime I go on to another podcast, I have this like, I don't know if people are going to want to hear what I have to say. And like,
Mhm.
what if I make an ass of myself? And all of
Yep.
these things continue to come up. And it really comes down to like the act of just doing it and just showing up. And
Yep.
so by just being that beacon right here, right now, you're doing that for others, everyone that's listening right now.
It's
Yeah.
wild.
Well, part of this process for you as well, and getting to witness this has been amazing. But part of this process for you has been teaching next level pain relief as
Mhm.
well as your own course. So, would you mind sharing what was different about the process of teaching someone else's system versus stepping into creating something that was uniquely your own? Because I know you and I worked on this for quite a
Mhm.
bit of time together, and I think that this was one of your biggest breakthroughs. If you don't mind me being transparent about that, I feel like that shift was
Yeah.
like a real big one that I was like, come on, Michelle, you got this.
Yeah. I think it was like a trial run for my own course, teaching the next level pain relief, because that's Robert Gardner's work. Um, it was much easier teaching someone else's work because I just had to take what they'd already done, and just kind of figure out how I was going to teach the material. And I also had lots of support. So when I got nervous or had questions about how things could possibly go, I go down the rabbit holes of like, oh my gosh, what if this happens or what if that happens? And so I could always just pop on a call or a message with Robert, and get answers or support for that. But developing my own course is very rewarding in its own way. So like I love helping massage therapists learn effective body saving techniques, but there's something really different about doing it, like doing my own work and the mindset stuff. It takes up a lot of space in my brain, and it has for about a year now since we started kind of working together, and I kind of narrowed down what it is that I wanted to do. um, like getting it all out on paper and organizing it to make sense, like to not be this like miasma of stuff floating around in my brain, but just to be like level one or like day one, day two, module three, like that kind of thing. um, it's been very rewarding seeing that come together, and having that giving birth to it, so to speak, um, from my own brain. So
Yeah, I mean the concept has been living inside of you for a while. So when you use that metaphor, giving birth to it, I really think that that's what it was. And I mean, when it comes to being an educator in either realm, how has this shift and this process for you helped you grow your confidence as an educator?
Yeah, so like running the in-person classes with the next level pain relief, it helped me see that people do want to learn from me, that they can learn from me, that I have something to offer. It was really a confidence booster for myself to be in that class, like my very first class that I ran, and people like hanging on to my word and like asking me questions and like being like, oh wow, like this is really cool. It was really interesting seeing students learning something that's different from traditional Swedish massage therapy, and then having them start to think outside the box, like being able to say to them, okay, like I'm going to teach it to you this way, but if you have a way that works better for your body or that makes more sense in your brain, like do it and share it with the class, because I'm not the be all and end all with that. So seeing that, it makes me feel much more confident that my online course is going to offer similar value to others and those that want to make their practice their own and not fit into a box like a chain spa would like to make the industry.
Yeah, yeah. I think that, it's so interesting. I remember my first experience teaching in person. I had been mentoring my own therapists in my practice to train them to do the specific style of work that we did for years. And I'd done that in that setting. And that was just a very different experience than actually teaching. And then I taught online for quite a while until I hosted my very first in-person class. And the way that students really look differently at an instructor definitely puts this like, oh, people are valuing what I'm teaching, and it's like it is impactful, but it also it's an opportunity to allow the ego to be like, oh, okay, like Yeah, I personally love that you said the ability to be like, if I'm not teaching it in a way that works well for your body, go ahead and get creative and work with each other. I love doing that in my classes as well because
Mhm.
I personally had a lot of issues, and I'll share about this in another episode because it's something I do want to talk about. I've had a lot of experiences with dogmatic teaching and
Mhm.
instructors, not just in the massage therapy field, but in other contexts as well, saying like, don't go learn from anyone else. This is the only way you should do this. And don't do anything creative. Do exactly what my hands are doing and let me show you exactly how you should do it. And that's so restrictive. And
Very much so.
unfortunately, it does not allow for the type of growth that I like to see blossoming in the massage
Mhm.
therapy world. And I love that you take that approach as like a collaborator more so than like, I am this person that's teaching you this specific thing. You're allowing the creativity of practitioners to blossom in the environment that you're holding space for.
Yeah, as it should. I mean, I think Robert kind of paved the way for me because what he's teaching is rooted in Thai massage, but it's not traditional Thai massage. And he gets a lot of flack from people um,
He loves that
about,
flack though.
I know, yeah. And he's a good conversation. Makes him a very a popular or unpopular person, but he gives him a
Yeah.
lot of visibility online for
Yep.
sure. But just having people tell him, well, it's not massage, it's not Thai massage, and it's like, well, this like I don't want to be traditional. I want to help people get out of pain, and that's what attracted me to his style of work too. When I was, changing up my practice was I don't I don't want to do things the way that I'm doing it. I'm not getting the results that I want. I want to help people and I want to feel good doing it. So, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it is so. I love the iconoclastic approach to like, it's so great for social media engagement. If you can
Yeah.
get people to disagree with you, you're going to get so many people who agree with you and resonate with you to see
Mhm.
your message. So go ahead and stir that pot on social
Mhm.
media. It works. Robert
Yeah.
is a perfect example of it. I have been inspired by his stirring of the pot for years now. But like it really goes to show like really just be yourself, speak your mission, and the people will find you and you'll be doing what, the positive good that you are meant to bring
Mhm.
to the massage therapy field or whatever your impact is that you want to make. And there's a lot of there again, it comes back to that box. Like, do you want to be in the box? Cool. Then teach from a beautiful box place. That's
Yeah.
perfect. And there's a place
Yep.
for that. Yeah, but if you feel very strongly about something, it allows other people to resonate with that in a really beautiful way when you speak up and you use a platform for whether it's an educator platform or social media or whatever you happen to have or want to step into. It's a privilege.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. Very much so.
Now, in your time developing this course and working through this yourself as well and being able to work with other practitioners, what do you see most massage therapists struggling with when it comes to believing in themselves and their ability to expand beyond hands-on work?
Um, Honestly, I think the biggest thing that I struggle seeing therapists is that they forget how powerful they already are, or they don't see how powerful they already are. They think, who am I to shake things up or to do more than massage or to whatever? And I mean, I count myself among among
Me
that.
too.
It's literally been my story for years.
Yep.
um, they doubt their ability to teach, to lead, or build something like bigger than themselves, and that story just keeps them playing small, and they could be doing so much more.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I mean, the so much more can be overwhelming too, especially when we have a big dream that there isn't as much evidence for. Our subconscious mind needs
Yes.
evidence. That's part of the reason why I started this podcast, honestly, is to provide the evidence. I mean, while I would love to have like really big, big, big names, and someday I aspire to like have all of the cool, like really big people on the podcast and all of that, it's like, but you know what? Like, I want to have conversations with the people who are, in the arena, so to speak, the ones that
Mhm.
are like really like on the level where most of us are at and really working through these mindset pieces and make it relatable because I mean, also looking at your social media, looking at your website, like it looks like you've been doing this for years and years and years, like teaching for years and years. And you've got this like system that works really, really nicely. And anyone our brains do this to us. And if you want to share your experience with this too, like definitely share. But our brains will also project success onto someone just because like something looks polished or whatever, like, oh, they must like have something that I don't have. And they like this, they must have been doing this for years and years and they must be doing so incredibly well. And like we create this disparity.
Mhm. I
And
had that with you when
yeah,
I first, because I think I took your, oh, it was a thing. It was last summer, and
dream
it
practice.
was it that when you were, it was
Perhaps the
setting up
automations workshop.
automation. That's what it was.
Yep.
That's what it was. And then we had a one-to-one call, and I was like, I feel like I'm speaking to a celebrity because I've seen you online, like in the massage therapy groups for a couple of years. And then I was like, well, this is kind of the first thing that I had paid for with you. Um, and yeah, and I was like, oh, this is just weird and nerve-wracking. Like, I've been watching you for so long, and now I'm having a conversation with you. And yeah,
It's so
yeah.
funny that you say that because I remember when I was on Rebecca Brumfield's podcast for the very first time, Badass Bodyworkers
Mhm.
podcast, she also called me a celebrity. And I was like, what? Like, I've been looking at you like you're this person who's got it like all figured out and everything. And it's so funny because like we do that. Just like I was saying, our
Yep.
brains
Yep.
will make us, I mean, yes, I mean, like each of us have been putting all of our effort into this and been doing all of this, but that doesn't mean that we're like any less messing up behind the scenes as much as
Yep.
anyone
Yep.
else or
So true.
living the life and like having our human experience as well. And man, having these conversations to be able to make everyone so much more relatable is so important. Our brains need that evidence that we're either just like everyone else, or that there's people who have struggled with one aspect of imposter syndrome or another. And
Mhm.
it's just so important to hear the stories and know that we're not alone.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I think it goes a long way to starting to combat that imposter syndrome and that the limiting beliefs and all that kind of stuff. It's
Yeah.
hearing from people who are in the industry and putting themselves out there. Yeah, I don't know. I fuck up every day, right? So I
Yeah.
can swear.
Oh, no, you're good. We don't censor here.
Okay.
We're good. No, I love it. And like part of the process is fucking up.
Yes.
You
Yes.
have to, it's just like a little kid. Like you don't look at a baby who's trying to learn how to walk. And when they fall down, you're like, man, you keep fucking up, kid. Like you better just give up because you're never
Yep.
going to walk. No, you don't do that. You encourage them. And man, I always think about how sore babies must be when they're learning
Yeah.
how to walk. Like I
Yeah.
can barely do a workout without not being able to walk the next day. And they're at it every single day. I can only imagine. And that's hard work. And we're so kind and loving to that process of falling down all of the time. And if only we extended that same compassion
Yep.
to ourselves, to the others around us who are just trying their best to do the same thing. And yeah, it's important to mess up.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, it gives us that mirror to learn from.
Yep.
Now, you've gone through a process, like you said, you've been in this field for a while, and you've gone through this process of diversifying your work. You've got the hands-on, well, I guess feet-on practice. You've got your hypnotherapy, and now you've got the online education. How has this diversification impacted your sustainability and joy in this career?
Yeah, I mean, if I had stayed only hands or feet on, um, my body would have given out years. It was starting to before I learned the next level pain relief stuff. Like I had chronic shoulder tendonitis, low back pain, and I was full. Like I had clients, I had waiting lists out the wazoo, but I was just burning out. So starting to teach the in-person stuff's been huge because it gives me a way to share what I know and help other therapists protect their own body, but takes the pressure off of mine. The hypnotherapy adds variety too. It keeps me engaged, and it kind of gives me, like, I went into social work earlier on for a reason, and it kind of brings me back to that part of myself that I lost with burnout, and didn't think I would miss, but I really did. So having those tools along with the hypnosis has really, really helped me stay excited and give clients another path to healing, because we know it's not just body, there's a mind component as well. And with online teaching on the horizon, I'm really excited because it means that I can reach even more people and not have the burnout. So it's just made my career not only sustainable, but it's made it fun again. Because as much as I talk about the imposter syndrome and the limiting beliefs and all the hard things, like it's been a lot of fun too, like discovering like, oh, I know how to make a sales page. I set up an online store. Like, look at me go, like that's fun. It's exciting to be able to do those little things that I was like, well, everybody else knows how to do that. Now I do too.
Yeah.
So
It makes me curious, like, do you ever walk yourself through a hypnosis experience where you kind of travel back to a version of yourself? Because you mentioned that you're not techie. So I'm wondering if you've ever gone back to a version of yourself that would have been like, no, you're never going to be doing that type of thing, and be able to show that version of yourself, like, yeah, look at what we're doing. It's cool.
I will now. I haven't done that in the past, but
Right?
I will do that now. I think I do a lot of like um, visualizing the future and seeing the future self. But I think there's something powerful about having that future self look back, past selves that made up that future self. So that is,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely something I never really thought about doing. But now that you say it out loud, I'm like, oh yeah, like that is something that I should, I should look into and start
Yeah.
doing.
I've done some experiences through other people's guided processes, and where it is like a version of your child, whether it's a hurt version of your child and you're doing shadow work, or just a younger version of you, and a your current self, and then the highest version of yourself, and all of them kind of going through an experience of visualizing like how you got here, where you got where you were, and then how you're going to get where you're going. And it is really powerful. It actually makes me think I want to add something like that to the hypnotherapy library in the sustainable body
Mm-hmm.
worker, because I think that it is really profound. It's a just like I was talking about before with the like the Victorian home. It's important to look back. Sometimes I even like physically think about this with my first apartment with my husband. We had no AC. It was this tiny little place, and like we had rats and squirrels in our
Oh my
like
goodness.
AC and all of that. Like it was crazy. And it wasn't like terrible, but like how we got from there to all the way up to where we are now. And like I would love to be able to like have this weird interdimensional experience to go whisper to that version of myself in that apartment, to be like, hey, just so you know, you've got your dream home. Just keep trucking along.
Yeah. 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 I had the same experience with like, first apartment. And I remember saying to my husband when we were, the kitchen had like flooded because we were in a basement and there was a rainstorm or something. And I remember saying to my husband, well, everybody's got to have that one shitty apartment in their life that they can move on from and grow and be like, oh man, do you remember when we lived in that that hole?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes it so much better and it allows you to recognize the privilege when the nicer place that you live in starts having problems. It's like,
Mhm.
no, it's quite a privilege to be able
Yes.
to fix this thing that wasn't even an option to have in my former living
Very much
circumstance.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. And that's such a metaphor for everything. We could do the same thing in versions of our practice as well,
Mhm.
and like former jobs that we had, and not to mention the growth that we earned from all
Mhm.
of those experiences too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, if there's a practitioner listening who is kind of on the edge of their own why not me moment, what advice would you give to them right now?
Yeah. Don't psych yourself out of growth by seeing the very end and seeing the whole canyon, kind of, if you're like thinking like the Grand Canyon, seeing the top of that and the whole like valley you'd have to go through and hike through. You don't have to kind of jump and get right to the top. You have to start small. So that might be something as simple as just raising your rates, because there's so many practitioners out there that I see that I'm just like, you need to be charging more. And that could be the small first step in elevating your practice and the massage therapy profession, because the more people who are charging enough to make a thriving life, the more normal that is for clients and patients to come and see and happily pay the rates.
Yeah.
Um, you might just make a tiny little webinar, even if it's just for you and like, five other massage therapists in your town or something. Or you might even just say out loud what it is you actually want. That's a huge step, because it's sometimes when things are just floating around in your brain, when you actually put it out loud into words or you write it down or something, that's like, oh, whoa, yeah, that is something that I want. It can really bring clarity um, to your business, your life, whatever. And one small step is enough to get the momentum rolling. And we've talked earlier about this, like the confidence doesn't always come before you act, right? It
Yes.
shows up afterwards. So you can't wait until you feel ready, because being ready is a myth. It's something like movement is what makes you ready. Like taking those first little baby steps is what makes you ready. So like if you're already having those like, oh, why not me? Like, why couldn't I do that? Or what if I did this? Like, you've already started the process. You've, started answering your own question. Like, okay, well, why not me? What could we do? What could be one step to kind of go ahead?
Yeah. And I think to add one even layer to that too is if you can visualize it and if you can think about it, and if there's like a ping in your heart that it's something that would bring you joy or purpose or meaning, it's possible.
Yep. Yep.
There is so much to that. And I love what you said too about speaking it aloud. There's actually science behind this around how translating it through from a thought pattern into spoken word, it actually goes through a different pathway in your brain.
Mm-hmm.
And we could go woo and talk about how it helps manifest it in a different way. A thought is just one existence of something. Then we transform and, transmute its existence into a spoken word. Now it's a sound. Now it's an actual vibration going outward from
Mm-hmm.
your body. Or if you write it down on paper, it's actually a physical thing now because it's written on paper. That graphite or ink is a thing there, and it really does. I mean, it's the most micro step, but it, just like you said, it is that thing that sets it in motion. It's not about like going out and looking at new buildings or something to purchase. That could be fun for a little while just to like inspire you, but truly the tiniest thing, saying no to a client, shifting your hours and working one last hour a week so that you have that extra hour to do something that's really juicy for you in one way or another. It's the tiniest thing. You're so
Mm-hmm.
right about that.
Mm-hmm. And phrasing it as in it is happening or it has happened is also really important, I think, when we're putting it out there. Not I want to, or it would be nice if, because when you phrase it in the positive or as if it's already happened, your unconscious mind is like, it doesn't deal with what ifs. It deals in like hard facts, and not even facts, but like hard yes and no's, like black and white, that kind of thing. And so when you say that enough, your unconscious mind then is like, oh, well, this is what's happening then. Like there's going to be, a thousand little steps in between, but at the end of it, like it's already going to happen. It's happened. It's going to happen. Yeah.
Exactly. That's such an important piece that I think so many people miss from like the affirmation work or the mindset work and all of this
Mm-hmm.
stuff. The language is so important. And I will frequently stop people in the coaching calls that we do, like when they're saying, yeah, if I get to a point when this happens, no, 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 no.
Mm-hmm.
When I get to the point that I'm capable of X, Y, and Z, or when this happens, it does literally train the brain. It's not just a manifestation vibration, although that is part of it. It actually trains the brain to learn that this is what's happening. Therefore, the other myriad programs that are running will fall in line with, oh, this is happening, and
Mm-hmm.
they'll get on board. And
Mm-hmm.
it again, it's another muscle, but
Yep.
is so important to train that, and catching yourself too. It's okay to mess up and just repeat yourself. I had a friend who really actually was a really wonderful model of this behavior for me for a while. She would oftentimes, she'd let herself get down, halfway through a sentence, and then she would stop herself and say, let me start that again. Or let me rephrase that, or let me say that differently, because she was intentional and she was witnessing the automatic words that were coming out, because most of the thoughts that we think every single day and the words that we say are exactly the same as before, and they're just based off of programs. So she's watching herself say this whole sentence, and then I think sometimes I feel like, oh, I'm already this far down the sentence. I've already said this much and it's already conveyed this thought. I may as well continue on with this thought, even though I'm consciously looking at it saying like, oh, wait, no, I think differently than that. What's happening? So witnessing her giving herself that permission to be like, actually, no, that's not what I intended to say. I'm going to start that over again and start that again with intention. That was such a beautiful experience for me to witness. And I think the point of me bringing this up here really is just in mentioning that, like, it's okay to be that far down the water slide of our stream of thought or stream of speech or whatever it is, and go back to the beginning and try again, because that's the muscle.
Yeah. Because like you said, recognizing it that's building the muscle. It's the lifting of the weight. It's like, okay, I caught myself this time. I'm going to rephrase it, and then the next time it's easier to catch yourself until finally you just have rephrased it in your unconscious, and that's now your belief.
Exactly. That's the nuts and bolts of it. And it's so simple.
So simple, but yeah.
So simple. And in practice, like, it's beautiful. It's just like a wonderful work. I mean, working out is simple. Just get on the treadmill, right? Yeah. So simple. But I'm dying inside while I do that. Oh my gosh. So amazing. I'm loving this. Where can people find you, learn more about you, explore your course, explore any in-person classes that you're teaching? Where would you like people to go to learn all of that stuff?
Sure. So you could follow me on Instagram. It's at rmt.michelle with 2 L's. That's where I'm pretty active on there. So you can kind of see that aspect of some of the work that I do. I've got lots of reels and videos of the mat work. If you want to learn more about my courses, you can go to my website, which is rmtmichelle.com. And you can click on the banner menu, where it says Continue Education Courses. And that gives you a link to the 2 courses currently that I'm offering. So.
Amazing. And we'll also link to it in the show notes, so it's nice and convenient for anyone listening where their show notes are available. Michelle, this has been such a great conversation. It's been such a privilege to work with you and watch this process as well. And I know that there's going to be so many more conversations to come as well, as more and more opportunities come up, because I know that through your experience of putting together this first course and working through that imposter syndrome and limiting beliefs of your own, there's going to be kind of a unveiling of everything else that's been wanting to shine from within you. So I really look forward to seeing that.
Me too. I have lots of dreams.
I love it.
And I'm also always interested, like if anybody ever wants to, if you hear this podcast and you want to have a conversation, like DM me, like we can always set aside some time and chat. And, I love hearing other perspectives and hearing other questions and just sharing what I can.
Yeah. So important just to keep that conversation going.
Definitely.
Well, Michelle, thank you so much. It's been wonderful talking to you today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. Thanks for listening to The Sustainable Body Worker. If something resonated for you today, grab your free breakthrough session, which includes a custom hypnotherapy track to help you unlock the next level. Grab it now with the link in the show notes. And to hear more, hit subscribe. We'll see you next time.